Hello everyone, I'm Colin Canet. I haven't done any tips or tricks for quite a while, so let's get started. Let's go right back to the speed square and the little pull saw. Here's a really quick way of cutting a 45-degree angle, and all I've done, I've clamped one of my speed squares to a piece of wood, and as you can see in that video, I just sawed that off like that. Now, let's go over to the workbench and let me show you some detail here. So before I get started, I want to talk about speed squares for a moment. Speed squares were designed for the construction industry. So if you're building fences, houses, garages, things like that, these things are fine. But most of mine, I have 3 of them here, are inaccurate. And this one is out a little bit more than 1/16 of an inch in here, and for house construction, who cares? The other one, my most expensive one, was this one here, and it's out 1/16 of an inch in only 7 inches. So I never use this one for anything, despite the fact it's nice and bright and quick to find. The least expensive one that I have here, I paid $2 at a garage sale for, and it's the most accurate one, but I never use these for accurate woodworking. I only use them for construction. For example, the big one I bought purposely for cutting 2x4s with my circular saw, and that gives me a nice accurate cut like that every time, and it's quick and easy to use, and that's what I use it for. Now, as you just saw in the video, I was using my most accurate for cutting a 45-degree angle. So let me show you quickly how that works. Now, you notice that it was in the video I was cutting like this, but let me turn this around like that. So if you have something that you want to cut a 45-degree angle, and I should say that I probably wouldn't do this for picture framing. This would be for molding or things that you need a 45-degree angle, quick and accurate way of doing that, and cutting it by hand. The one way you could do that would be to run the saw down this way and slice into the wood going like this. The reason I don't like that is because if you're off a little bit on your way through the wood, and sometimes the grain will make the blade wander a little bit, you're going to be chewing up the end of your speed square here, and who wants to do that? So the best way of doing that is the same thing that I did, which was cutting it like this, parallel to the speed square, and that way you're not going to be chewing up the end of your square because the teeth are going to be biting directly into the wood. And you still get the same cut as long as you make sure that you keep it straight this way. You're going to get a good cut. And I'll be honest, I'm a little bit out of practice on doing these, but if you look at that, you'll see that that's a nice straight cut. Here's a fun little item. I saw something like this at a friend's place. I thought, what a great idea for an old handsaw that you can't use for anything else anymore. I use a lot of sticky notes especially when I'm doing projects. I write dimensions or numbers on there, and I don't use magnets for these. I use these little hooks on here because they're easy to take on and put off because they stick. These sticky notes stick on here, but then they fall off, so I magnetize them. There's the wrench for my Harbor Freight cutoff, little Harbor Freight cutoff, so I always misplace it. A lot of these things here, you see all these regular shapes. These are high-powered magnets that I take out of old hard drives, and they're perfect for something like this because here's a great example. For example, it doesn't have to have metal on here. You can use this and hook and loop, for example, on this, and this is just so that you can see that you can actually use plastic on there. So all sorts of things going on here. I even put my scissors on there because I always seem to be misplacing my scissors, and I know where they are now. So lots of things going on here. You could do something like this really easily. Here's a new adaptation that I've started using for a number of months now. On my little driver here, my little 12-volt driver, I have 2 bits that I use most of the time. And what I've done, I put a little piece of hook and loop down here, and I've done the same thing on this bit. And you can see that it has sort of a spiral twist to it, and that means I can touch that anywhere, and it sticks on there, and it sticks really well. So these are the 2 bits that I use most of the time. I never have to go looking for them. They're right there. And the same thing, that little spiral, I never have to look. I used to put a little straight strip on here, then I'd have to try and line it up. I don't do that anymore. You just put it on there and it's good to go. And I decided to do the same thing with my portable hand router, and I use this. Of course, you need a wrench for it to put the bits in all the time, and I used to misplace and always looking for this wrench, so I wrapped some red tape around it and that didn't work. And then I thought, why don't I put hook and loop on it as well? There's the hook and loop there, and the matching, and again, I don't have to look. It goes to either side and it stays on there well. I don't leave this on here when I'm routing, only when I'm storing it, so I know exactly where the wrench is for this little hand router. I pick it up and I know the wrench is with it. I know many of you work alone in your workshop like I do, and when you're doing dry fits or putting things together, it can be kind of frustrating because we could often use another pair of hands. But look, here's what I use. This is probably one of the most used clamps in my workshop. They call them hand screws, hand clamps, wooden clamps, and they're perfect for, in this case, holding something up vertically. That way I can do some kind of a dry fit. The other thing that I use a lot are these little 90-degree braces, and these are, I've measured these are absolutely perfect 90 degrees. So if you're putting something together and you want it absolutely square, this can help you do that. And the way they work is maybe you've got one piece standing up like this. You can use a bracket on the other side. I'm just going to use a quick hand clamp on that side, and this side, just for fun, I'm going to use a spring clamp, and now you've got something that's aligned and vertical. You can go ahead and continue whatever alignment that you need, but just a great way of helping you put your projects together. Well, that concludes my video for today. All sorts of cool things you can do in the workshop to make life a little bit easier for yourself, and for me, things a little bit handier to find too. Before I go, just a quick public service announcement here. One of the companies that I've done couple of videos for in the past, I did the chisel sharpening tool and also the router attachment. Good quality tools. A company called Empower. They're relocating their business from Britain to Canada, and in light of that, they're having a tool sale, 25% off, and this is for November of 2022. I'm going to put this details in the description box below and in the article on Woodwork Web, because you have to use, in order to get that, you have to use Welcome 25. So I'll put all that detail in those two places. So I'm Colin Kinnett for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching today.